Hey guys, so back in 2016 I actually had my own YouTube channel, Famicomplicated, and I had this great idea that I wanted to interview all my favorite YouTubers and chiptune artists and all the people I admire on the internet. And then I kind of put it on the back burner, and then the Famicast started its own YouTube channel and I kind of forgot about it. But I did record one episode, and that was with my very favorite chiptune artist, Bulbamike. His music has been featured on the Famicast many times, and we talked about him in our Famicast 10 years segment on the podcast. So here it is, in its low res, 5 years old at the time of recording this, quality footage. Google Hangouts was still a thing. Anyway, here it is, and please to enjoy my interview with Bulbamike. Let's do it. So welcome. This is my first episode of the Super Famicomplicated Show, and I have a special guest with me. He's called Mr. Bulbamike, aka Mike Stoney. Mike, thank you so much for joining me.
That's all right, no problem.
In my premiere episode, I'm sure you're overwhelmed with enjoyment and satisfaction, and just.
I will probably ramble quite a lot, so we'll see.
It's fine. Okay. So yeah, basically, you are a chiptune composer. I guess that's the right word, right?
Yeah.
And in fact, if people may have heard, or will definitely have heard Mike's music in several of my videos, actually, because I'm a big fan of Mike's music, and I thought it'd be cool to interview him face to face, and that's what we're doing right now. So yeah, I'm gonna ask him lots of invasive questions about his gaming history and his musical history and things like that. And hopefully he will respond to some of them.
Hopefully I'll respond. We'll see.
Cool. So first on the agenda, by agenda I mean just some random questions I wrote down. I thought we'd talk about your kind of gaming background.
Yeah, sure.
Lots of your music is like, Nintendo-esque or Nintendo-themed. Not everything, but, a lot of it. So I just wanted to know, what your gaming history was, like your first console or your favorite games from when you were younger, things like that.
Yeah.
So should we start with first console?
Yeah, might as well. I think this is actually kind of like one of the earliest memories I can remember. I had an NES, and the thing was, I was born way after the NES came out. In fact, I'm pretty sure I was born the same year the Super Nintendo came out, but our family seemed to be a few years behind up until the GameCube, I think. So yeah, first console was an NES. I had Super Mario Brothers, of course, Super Mario Brothers 3. I had Snake Rattle and Roll, which I still need to kind of go back and play because I remember loving that game, but I can't. I don't know. I do have an NES. It's in my cupboard, but it's all like dusty and because our original.
That's a rare game, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. One of their first games on the NES at least. Yeah. No, they. I can't remember what year it was, but I think my parents threw the NES out without telling us. So I was devastated that day. We still had the Super Nintendo and the N64, so I've still got those in my cupboard, and I've had those since I was a kid.
FYI, you can actually legally divorce your parents. I don't know if you knew that. So,
oh really?
Just
you know what?
Information.
As intriguing as it is, I don't want to live on the streets and live in a gutter, so I might stay away from that just for the moment. But I'll think about it. Definitely.
Swings and roundabouts, Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Cool.
I can't remember having any.
So back then, obviously, you with you being so into that kind of 8-bit music, were you into the music at the time? Like, were you kind of aware of how which games had good music, which games had terrible music?
Yeah, I definitely was. I think that was, to be honest, like my only kind of what's the word? That was the only music I listened to, really, because I do remember the first mainstream music, I guess you could say, was Simon and Garfunkel, or it was that Eiffel 65 song Blue. those were like the only two normal songs that like I had heard. Everything else was all game music. So that pretty much continued like throughout my life. I picked up normal music as well, but I was still more interested in listening to actual like game music. It wasn't until recently. Yeah, go on.
How did you listen to game music? Just from the games directly, or like did you?
Yeah, I was going to say
tapes of them or something.
No, it was only recently that you can download the game music off the internet, stuff like that. So back then, my only time listening to music was when playing the games.
Right.
So that was really all I had. It wasn't. I think the first game kind of CD I ever got, there was a magazine called Nintendo Official Magazine, non in the UK. Yeah. And at some point they changed to Onma, which didn't sound quite right. But anyway, one of the magazines, it came with a CD of a orchestrated soundtrack to Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Oh, nice.
And that was the first kind of CD I ever had that had game music on it.
You see, I'm one generation in front of you because when I had that magazine, it was called NMS, Nintendo Magazine System.
Oh, really?
And the CD that I got was Street Fighter 2 music, and it was just ripped straight off the game. It wasn't even orchestrated. Yeah. It was just and from after track 10, it was just the grunts. So it was like
wow.
So yeah, like tracks 10 to 45 were just sound effects. But yeah, good times.
That sounds good. That sounds amazing. So I only really listened to the music while playing the games.
So what were your favorite like soundtracks at that time? You said you had Mario 1 and 3.
Yeah, I think one game I just remembered that I missed out. I can't remember who the developer was, but it was a game called Solstice, and the composer behind that was Tim Follin. One of the Follin brothers was behind that. And you listen to that music and it doesn't sound like it can come out of an NES. It sounds way too complex. But it's that kind of complexity being limited by how many channels you can use.
Right. That
I thought this is pretty cool. This is pretty cool.
It's always the Silver Surfer game that people immediately go to for like immensely complex soundtracks, and that it sounds like it's a remix, but actually it's not. It's actually the game.
Yeah, Silver Surfer and Solstice, I think, were the two that were the Fallen Brothers worked on. I think they worked on the Smurfs as well, because it sounds quite similar, but I'm not too sure on that one.
So sorry, when the first CD of game music that you had was the official Nintendo magazine's Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I had the Pokemon anime soundtrack before that, but I'm not sure that particularly counts. So I think that was the one. After that, there was I think they included a Donkey Konga one that had all like the remixes from that game.
Okay.
Those are the only two I can remember.
We can do a karaoke at the end.
I'm not sure that's a good idea. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
You can sing "I Want to Be the Very Best."
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you would say very much a Nintendo inspired use, I guess. Like exclusively Nintendo. There were no other consoles at all.
No, not really. I grew up with a NES, N64, GameCube, Wii, and then Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, 3DS. I did have a Sega Game Gear that I think my grandma gave to me.
Okay.
But it took 6 batteries, so I never played it. It was ridiculous.
Right.
I think the first non-Nintendo console I got was an Xbox 360, and that was relatively recently. My brother, he went down the more kind of Sony route when PlayStation 3 came out.
Okay.
But I've kind of stuck to Nintendo just because it's what I like and it's what I've grown up with.
Right. Yeah, cool. I'm kind of in the same boat actually. Yeah. I actually have never had a non-Nintendo system ever, even now, even as an adult.
Yeah. There's too many. There's too many. I can only have one console, and even then, I don't get to play like as many games as I wish I could. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so so next, I thought the next topic is basically your music.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought first we could talk about musical inspirations. I guess. So and are there any non-gaming inspirations? You mentioned that terrible dance song from the '90s. Is that?
Yeah.
So was it dance music or?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I didn't really listen to any music outside of game music, but I would say, in terms of my musical preference and kind of what I might steer towards when composing, I would say kind of cheesy 90s dance and also jazz music.
Would you say that your music, your chiptune music now, is kind of like dancey? Is kind of vaguely inspired by that, or somewhere in the back of your brain, it's kind of influencing you, kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say that. I think any kind of, when I'm composing original music, any kind of rhythm I go for is always kind of normally on the beat dance type music, and then kind of all the harmony stuff. Yeah, basically, yeah.
I'm thinking of Scatman now.
And then and then all kind of the harmony is kind of, I do like using a lot of like kind of jazz kind of chords and notes. So it's, I mean, yeah, that's a kind of what I go for, kind of dance type rhythm, but with like jazzy kind of weird kind of harmony.
Okay.
I'd say that's one. Yeah.
Cool. So how long have you actually been composing music, or copying? Would you call it copying? Like, what do you say? Like tracing is for drawing. What would you call it for?
Transcribing.
Transcribing. Okay.
That's the word. Yeah.
Did you start transcribing? I'm assuming you transcribed before you composed original music, or?
I don't think I did actually. First I started out as a performer because I started playing trumpet when I was 9, I think. And then a few years after that, I started just writing music because I just wanted to try something else. And just through my years at school, I kind of realised that actually performing's great, and I did do a lot of school performances, and I can still play to this day. But it's more so, I do enjoy kind of the creative process of creating something and then putting it out there, rather than being on stage and performing others' work. So I did compose first. Transcribing came last actually. That was in my kind of latter years of school. I transcribed and arranged an orchestral medley of game music, which unfortunately never got performed because everyone was so unreliable that no one ever turned up. But I could probably still find that somewhere. But yeah, no, that was definitely a later thing. Yeah.
So you do have it, like, you're a classically trained musician in a sense. You do have a musical background.
Yeah. Yeah. When through like playing trumpet, I had to learn music theory as well. So I'm definitely a composer before a remixer. It's just that I find that people enjoy work that they recognise before kind of original music. If you give people something they recognise before, then they'll start liking original stuff. So people know the songs that I remix, so that's why I kind of do it more often. Yeah.
So when was your first digitally composed or transcribed music that you did? What can you remember? How old you were, or like?
That would be in. That was when I was in college, and that must mean I was about 17 or 18. I did a transcription of Toadman's level from Rockman 4, not Mega Man 4. It was called it was a Japanese only game called like Rockman 4 something, I can't remember, but basically all the music was remixed, and that song was remixed in kind of like a jazz pop style. So I wanted to transcribe it, with like the trumpets and the bass and drums. And I think that was the first one. Nothing came of it, unfortunately. That was just kind of something I did in my free time to show kind of like my teachers that I could do it, because I thought it was impressive, but they didn't really. But yeah, I think that was the first one I did. Yeah.
Because you're transcribing onto musical sheets for people to play real instruments with, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, I think in that one I transcribed it into Logic Pro, which has like a tracker where you just put the MIDI in, and then from then I kind of took the manuscript and tidied it up a bit. Yeah, but like I say, before that I had that kind of orchestral medley that I did, but that was kind of arrangement as well. So there was a lot of transcription there, and I did write out a full kind of orchestral score for it. But it was more, yeah, an arrangement. Yeah.
So you mentioned Logic Pro there. So is that a Mac software? Is that Mac only software or?
It's primarily Mac only. It is on Windows as well, but it's nowhere near as good. It's definitely built for Mac, but kind of ported to Windows.
So did you get a Mac with like making that kind of music in mind? Like you wanted that so you could have that software so you could make music? Was that the thinking?
Yeah. Well, in college they all had Macs there. Actually, my year was the first year that they kind of decided they want this music technology course, and so they bought a load of iMacs with Logic Pro on them, and that was kind of my first exposure to it. And I kind of realised this is because before then I was on Windows using Finale Allegro, I think it's called, which is just manuscript. Like there's no kind of sequencing, kind of instrumentation there. That's all I had. So any music I was composing, it was just MIDI, and that was it. And Logic Pro, it uses MIDI, but the instruments are much better sounding, and you can buy your own plugins and all that. Yeah, I after that I bought this MacBook that I'm using now for Logic Pro. Yeah. Cool.
So your inspiration for doing your first thing, you said it was like a school project. Is that what you said? Yeah.
It was kind of something in my free time, but yeah, it was kind of relating to the project.
You're trying to force it into a school project.
Yeah.
hoping to get marks for it.
Yeah. I'll tell you what it was actually. I just remembered. One of our bits of coursework in college was to transcribe "Tainted Love" by
classic.
I can't remember who sung that. What was the group called? Honestly, can't remember.
It's not Aha.
No, it's not them. Wow.
Soft Cell.
Yes, that's the one. Yes. Yeah, we had to transcribe that, and I think that was actually my first kind of proper focused transcription, and then kind of like Toadman and the orchestral stuff came before and after.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So my next kind of big question is, what stage did you think? Okay, I want to take it up to the next level. I want to be, a musician. I want to take it to the next level and make my own stuff and do this, do it right, do it as a pro. Would you consider yourself a professional composer?
I mean, I have a degree, so I guess technically that does make me a professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would say so. I mean, yeah, exactly. I think it was.
Was there any specific moment where you thought, this is it. This is what I want to do?
I think it was just before year 10 in school, which I was 15 at the time, and I definitely got more into composing than I did performing and kind of music theory. And I said, actually, this is definitely what I want to do. And like if I look back at my marks, you can see, I think actually on one of the composing projects I got full marks for, like 120 out of 120 or something. Right. And my performing was average and my theory was quite low. So that was kind of definitely the focus. It was like, I'm definitely a composer and this is what I'm going to do.
And I went could you still squeeze gaming into that course, or was your teacher frowning upon you doing that kind of stuff?
I think in my school years I had to kind of put gaming to the side. No, you know what, I'm lying, because for our last year in college we had to do a performance of one of our grade pieces on stage in one of the school concerts. But I said, can I not do that, and can I do Aquatic Ambience from Donkey Kong Country instead?
Brilliant.
And I did actually do it.
In front of the whole school or the whole class? Or?
Well, in a school concert, so in front of like all the teachers and everyone's parents and like the kids as well.
Did you say Aquatic Ambience, the underwater song?
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause at the time, I there was a remix by oh no, I've forgotten the name. Basically, a group of musicians. There's a saxophone player, and they had a remix of him playing the saxophone on that song. So I just kind of transcribed that for trumpet, and then bass guitar, you know, drums and all such. And yeah, I performed that instead of a great piece. So that was, I think, yeah, I got more comfortable asking about kind of doing game-related stuff as the years went on.
So at that time, did people know that was game music? Were they like, you know, what is this crap? You know, this is not real music or something like that?
Yeah, I think back in those days, yeah, people were still kind of like that. I think, all the performers I was with were, you know, my mates in our class. So although they didn't necessarily know the music and the game it was from, they knew that it was video game music and it sounded cool. So they were cool with it. But, you know, the teachers, I feel like they were probably just letting me do it just to make me happy. But
how could anyone not like Donkey Kong Country music?
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
You're not human if you don't like Donkey Kong Country music.
It's too good, isn't it? Too good. Yeah, no. And actually, I tell you what, I think I got away with it as well because I made the backing synth in Logic Pro. There's kind of like chords. And instead of just, you know, uploading an instrument and getting someone to play it, because normally in the performances you just have your keyboard and you just play the instrument on the keyboard and that was it. But with this, we got a laptop on the stage and connected it to a MIDI keyboard with an instrument that I made in Logic Pro. And we had that played through an amplifier. So I kind of got away with it in as well because I kind of had a bit of music technology in there as well. But, you know, that was one of the reasons. Anyway.
I could just imagine your teacher's monocle falling out. He's plugging a computer into the amplifier. What is going on here?
I can't remember if it took a while to set up, but if it did, he was probably thinking that, yeah.
Monocles everywhere.
Yeah, basically.
Cool. So next I thought I'd talk about any like chiptune communities that you might be involved with. There's quite a few you know, big sites around that are good at like sharing you know, remixes and orchestrations that people have made, right?
Yeah.
So are you involved with any of those? Are you like, you know, well known on any of those?
You know what? I am quite bad with that kind of thing. I'm not necessarily a part of anything, to be honest. I kind of just do my own thing because this whole YouTube thing started while I was at university, and I kind of just did it and I shared it with my friends, and then, you know, I started doing game music, and then people kept jumping on it. So I never really kind of shared my music anywhere, apart from kind of, I shared it on a fighting game website called Event Hubs when I was doing music from Marvel vs. Capcom 3. But aside from that, I haven't shared it with like OC. A lot of people tell me to share it with OC Remix and kind of other websites as well, but I've kind of just done my own thing, and I don't know, it seems to kind of worked, I think. I'm not too sure how far I might be if I did share it, but
well, I mean, people are more likely to find it on YouTube. I mean, that's how I found your music. So
yeah, I mean, a lot of people do share my music anyway, and a lot of kind of my views and subscribers, I guess, came from big YouTube names using it as background music in their videos.
Right.
So that's
probably like me. Probably people like me, you know, massive YouTube channels, just like
absolutely. The world. You and Chugga Conroy, absolutely, 100%.
Who? Never heard of him.
Oh, really?
Okay.
No.
So, well, I had a whole bunch of questions prepared about communities, so I'll just delete that from the agenda.
I mean, yes, I'm not really good at that.
Well, I guess this question could still be relevant. Do you have any other favorites that, you know, other than your own music? Are there any other, you know, chiptune composers that you like, that you listen to?
I was going to say, I mean, as the years have gone and as I've done YouTube, I found kind of other chiptune remixes online. There's a guy called My New Soundtrack that does mainly SNES style remixes. There's a guy called Zero Janitor that does 8-bit remixes as well. 8-bit Danuked one, I think that's how you pronounce it. So there are a few kind of guys on YouTube, and outside of that, I mean, I listen to quite a few. Well, I say quite a few, like I follow 2 or 3 kind of chiptune guys. Benjamin Briggs.
Oh yeah, I like his stuff. Yeah.
And to be honest, actually, you know what? To be honest, it's only Benjamin Briggs, and then anything OC Remix releases. I don't.
He likes. He's a big fan of Diddy Kong Racing, which is always a plus in my books.
That is how I found him, because at the time, and still now actually, Diddy Kong Racing soundtrack is like my favourite of all time. And I was just thinking, there aren't any good remixes. Let me search them up, and his bootleg series came up, and I was like, this is I'm done. This is actually done. So him, and then kind of like anything OC Remix release. I do follow a few other guys as well, but I find myself sometimes not listening to their music, not because I don't like it, but I just can't find the time.
I'll tell you, the kind of chiptune music that you tend to find on YouTube, which is bad, and I'm sure you're going to agree with me on this, is the people that used...
I know where you're going with it.
There must be some software that just kind of, you take an MP3 and it just applies a filter or something like that.
There is.
And it shits out, a shitty sounding,
there is a
chiptune song.
Yeah. There's a plugin called GXSCC. I don't know what it stands for, but basically you just take MIDI, put it in there, and it puts it into 8-bit instruments, but not necessarily using the right instruments for the right notes or too many layers. That's what it is. And the guys I mentioned previously, they do it all originally from scratch. And
I think that's why I kind of lean towards using your music, because you often state in your descriptions that you compose it all yourself from scratch. None of this bullshit that people are using.
MIDI stuff. Yeah.
And I could immediately tell that you did it yourself, and it sounded brilliant because of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The
people who do appreciate that music can tell, and they do like it, and it definitely pays off.
I do get a lot of comments that say, wow, this is actual 8-bit music instead of this GXSCC stuff. And it's like, I'm doing something right then. That's good.
It sounds like a series of farts.
Yes. It's always the triangle wave as well, which just sounds like a piano instead of 8-bit, which just sounds really bad. But that's what I do.
Exactly. Cool. So next up, I thought we'd kind of go into the more nitty-gritty of exactly how you go about making the songs that you do. So first of all, how do you go about choosing which song to tackle, which game or which song to tackle? Is it completely random? Is it what's in what you're playing at that moment? Is it how do you go about that?
It really is a mix of everything. More often than not, it's a game that I've been playing recently that I want to kind of represent on my channel and take one bit of music from and make a remix out of it. Right. Sometimes it's requests. I do look at all the requests I get, and when I have a listen, see if it's going to work in 8-bit, 16-bit, or whatever, or if there's any like copyright issues or anything. And then sometimes it's kind of dependent on the season, so I might do kind of more music from horror games in October. I do kind of Christmassy stuff in December. Right. Might do summer stuff like Cooper Trooper Beach, for example, in June or July. And I do also try and do music that is kind of current, so like from current games. Maybe I did a remix of Yoshi's Woolly World, the Super Smash Brothers remix. Haven't played Yoshi's Woolly World, but I knew at the time it was just about to come out, I think. So I do sometimes aim for trying to match up with kind of release dates, just so while it's kind of like a hot topic. Other than that, it's stuff I just want to do. Really.
That's right. And sometimes with Mario games, you might get like a Mario World song on a new 3D Mario. So you can kind of cross over with that, can you? Sometimes they overlap, don't they?
Yeah, when Yoshi's Woolly World came out in America, which was way after Europe, sorry.
Right.
I just did something from Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, just because it was kind of similar. So I always have a reason for doing a remix, as kind of arbitrary as it might be. I don't just do like completely random stuff.
Right. Okay. Yeah. You end up having a good mix, and you also keep playlists of various games, don't you? You've got a Mario playlist, etc.
I do have quite a few playlists. It's very difficult to manage sometimes, but I try and make it as easy for everyone as I can.
So step one, you choose the game at random. You got the dartboard out. Boom, you've got the game chosen. So the software that you previously mentioned, are you still using Logic now? Is that what you mainly use now? Yeah.
I've used it since the very first one I ever did, and I don't intend on changing unless my laptop blows up.
But, are there any pieces of software that you would, if people are interested in becoming, starting up, is there anything that you would recommend not using? Logic is a given, but is there anything you would say?
Logic is Logic Pro or any other kind of sequencer is good for Mac users. Because there's one program on Windows that you can get on Mac if you have all kind of the different plugins that let you use Windows software and so on. But on Windows, there's a program called Famitracker, which is basically the quintessential 8-bit kind of chiptune maker. It makes proper files that you could put into a chip on an NES card and it could play properly.
Wow.
And it's as authentic as you can get. The only reason I don't do that is because, like I say, I had a Mac. I've only just recently got a PC, and it's very daunting to learn. And I can't find the time, unfortunately. And people like it using Logic Pro, so at the moment I don't see any reason to change. But I would say if you would want to start up, any kind of sequencer on Mac is good. You can also get free sequencers if you don't want to buy one. Famitracker is free on Windows, so if you take the time to learn that, you're going to get the most out of that.
Forgive my ignorance, but things like Korg, is that a sequencer? Korg? Because I've seen like DS games have got. There's a DS game.
Yeah.
Well, you can't call it a game, but
Oh, that's the thing you can make the music on. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is Korg as a person who knows nothing about music?
I'm not sure I can answer that either. I don't think that's a sequencer. A sequencer, basically, you have a window come up where you can input MIDI notes, but you can, change instruments, make instruments, add effects, but have complete full control over it, not just like presets. So a few names: Logic Pro, FL Studio, Reason. There are a few others, but there are a lot of sequencers out there for Windows and Mac. So you have a lot of options.
So do you need a USB MIDI keyboard? Is that a necessary thing, do you think?
It's not necessary. Mm-hmm. You can if you want. I don't use one.
You don't?
Because I just find it easier just to listen to the music. Because, like I say, with my musical background, I've become quite good at kind of estimating pitches just by listening to them. So I can just kind of listen to the music, say, oh, that's an A sharp. And if it's not, just find the right note. If it is, then great. MIDI keyboards can definitely help you in kind of that kind of thing. And they're very good for kind of like just composing in general. But it's not necessary. I don't have the room for it, to be honest. I actually don't have any room to put it. So that's one of the reasons I don't use it.
Yeah, don't talk about not having room. I'm in a broom cupboard.
You are right. I didn't actually think of that. I'm very sorry.
So the as a complete layman in this kind of this terminology and everything, like how do you actually start off making the track? Is it like, I know you might have a tune in your head, but like, are you laying down like notes like individually? Is it something that it takes like an incredible amount of time just to do a few seconds of it? Or I guess you once you've got the main loop down, then you're set, right?
Yeah, I think the process I do it in is quite long-winded, but I think it's necessary in making it as accurate and as authentic as possible. Basically, I put the original track into my sequencer. Luckily, Logic Pro does have a function where you can slow it down without changing the pitch. So if there's any very quick passages, I can kind of pick them out a bit easier. But it is just a case of listening to the whole track up until the loop point and just picking out the bass drum, the snare, the hi-hat, any open hi-hats, crash cymbals, and then bass. The 2 lines I want from the melody. It's very difficult when you get songs that have kind of more than 3 important sections, because you've got one channel for the bass, which more often than not is just one instrument, so you can kind of do that quite easily. But you've only got 2 channels to work with for kind of melody and harmony. So if you take like a big orchestral piece from Skyrim, for example, that's going to be very difficult to do in 8-bit because you've only got two notes to work with.
So when you say you've got only two notes, are you restricting yourself knowing the limitations of the NES or something, or is that?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of other kind of. I mean, I think there's a difference between 8-bit music and chiptune music. Chiptune, you can forget about the limitations and just make it sound game-like.
Okay, well, that's a good differentiation to actually tell people that.
Yeah, I think that's why I kind of put 8-bit, 16-bit, and so on in the title, because although maybe kind of the general public might not know what that means, and it might kind of turn them off, it's more kind of an accurate kind of description of what the music is.
Well, I know that's how I searched for the music, and that's how your music came up. I think I searched for Super Mario World 8-bit, and that's how you came up.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. I'm doing something. So you've only got these two channels to work with. So and picking like a lot actually in my older remixes, you can hear that I kind of stick one channel for the melody. And then, if the melody's not there, I might throw in like backing melody or kind of backing harmony notes. And then the second channel is just kind of backing passages and harmony notes. And previously I tended to kind of get every single thing that happened in a song to be as accurate as possible. But recently I've kind of thought it's probably more sensible to just do kind of what sounds good rather than what sounds right. So in my Splatoon one I did recently.
That's great, by the way.
Thank you.
I really like that.
A lot of the backing synth, so the backing lead, is just echo notes rather than kind of harmony notes or kind of backing kind of stuff, because it sounds better. I think it sounds better. So it can be very difficult to make decisions on what you want each channel to be dedicated to, especially when you've got more than 3 or 4 kind of layers to be transcribing. But that's I think it makes you more creative as well. If you kind of put limitations on yourself, it makes you more creative in how you kind of get around those limitations.
I think it's true, not only for music, for everything, right? I mean, like a game like Shovel Knight, people have they've limited themselves to that look, and and they got so much creativity by doing that. So
exactly, yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
cool. So, so is it? I guess it's the same process for like making original tracks, but it's are you just using inspiration from like your musical background, or like is there when you're making your own original score, are you still limiting yourself to those two channels, or do you kind of expand it?
I mean, if someone's commissioning like an 8-bit song, then I will still do the limitations. But if it's just kind of general kind of music, electronic chiptune or whatever, then not really. I still kind of might use the same kind of processes. Like I'll still go for kind of like chiptune instruments, maybe add some kind of normal electronics or like orchestral instruments around it. But I think composing without limitations is so much more different than composing or remixing with. It's a lot different, and I think, to be honest, that's kind of why I'm not necessarily too hot on composing like that, because I do get quite overwhelmed with the amount of stuff you're supposed to do to make a song sound as good as it possibly can be. So that's why I don't compose like that too often. Like I composed an original kind of LP a few years back, I think, or maybe it was last year. But it's a lot of work for kind of not too much reward at the moment, anyway.
It's always good to set yourself limits, because you can quite easily get carried away, and
yeah.
It's and like I said, same for everything in life.
Basically, yeah. And I just like the simplicity of it as well. It's simple music that can be complex kind of creatively rather than mechanically. If that makes sense. Yeah.
I was going to make a terrible metaphor about it's like putting 2 chocolate biscuits on a plate, or just leaving the bag of biscuits on your plate.
Oh, okay.
But, I don't think it quite makes sense. So
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure that works, but we can roll with it.
2 biscuits, 2 channels. No. Anyway.
Anyway.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Excellent. And also, there's another cool element to your YouTube videos. You know, even though they are audio focused, you actually do have animations on them. Like, you've got little Mega Man, little Rockmen, you know, moving around, and they're animated, and sometimes they're not. You've edited the original artwork, like it's not the actual original icon. You actually changed the original sprites.
Yeah.
Like, do you do that all that yourself?
Yeah, I do. That's a very recent thing, to be honest. I think last year I still just had kind of static images, and I might do that every so often for kind of remixes that I kind of want to just get out there, and you know the visuals don't particularly matter too much.
Yeah.
But that is definitely because YouTube is a visual medium, obviously,
right.
And I think most people do, they might click on the video and then just open a new tab and carry on doing something else while listening to the music.
Right.
There is kind of like a reason to give something visual to the audience as well. And I don't do it completely the whole way through. I do kind of get to a point where I can loop the visuals and then just copy and paste. Because at the end of the day, they are here for the music instead of the visuals. It's just the visuals is kind of like a nice little cherry on the cake.
What software do you use to make those?
I use, what's it called? I've got it open right here. Adobe Premiere Elements 10. That's the editing video software I use. And then to make the sprites, I use a program called GIMP, which is a free kind of Photoshop equivalent, I guess. I've got that working on my Mac. And yeah, that's about it really. I use GIMP to kind of change the colors, add bits to the sprites, enlarge them.
Yeah.
And then I use the video editing software to kind of keyframe, put it all together.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, you would actually think you're more of an animator than a musician sometimes. It's fantastic. Yeah, really, really cool.
I like to think I'm fairly decent at it. I'm still learning a lot of it, but no, that's good.
It's a nice touch because like you said, you know, most videos do just have a still image or, you know, the box art or something like that. You know.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, that is. I think when I first started kind of this whole YouTube thing, I wanted to do something different, but when I looked up kind of 8-bit remixes on YouTube, a lot of it was either just like a static image of the box art, like you say, or it was the Famitracker roll, like you watch the Famitracker roll go down as the notes being played.
That's right.
Yeah, and I thought that's not particularly too engaging to people who don't know what it is. That's just letters and numbers going down on the screen.
Right.
So that's why I started doing kind of pictures, and I edited them a bit more, added a bit more to them, and now I started doing video. So yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, you would actually mistake it from like a cutscene from one of the Mega Man games at times. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, I do try and make them, like with my music, as authentic as possible. I try and keep all the proportions the same. I keep all the color palette the same as well. I actually. Like with the Splatoon one, something simple as... Actually, no, let me talk about the Megalovania one from Undertale. I downloaded the final battle of Mega Man 2, and it might be a bit too far, I'm not too sure if people would mind, but I download the video and I go through every frame to see how long animations last for. So I say like, okay, this sprite is on screen for 3 frames, next one 2, next one 3, next one 4. And I do that, and it does take a long time, but I like it to be as authentic as I can. Yeah, because I am a perfectionist, and everything has to be perfect.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it all makes sense, because when you see it, it does have a certain flair, like, you know, professional quality to it that, you know, I can appreciate, and I hope everyone else does. Yeah,
I do too, because it takes a long time. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess that's the end of my kind of my questions about you and your background and music and everything. Okay. So my next segment is kind of is a segment that I'm going to do with all my guests, because, you know, I'm a channel based in Japan, so you know, I like to, you know, stick a bit of Japanness in there somewhere. So I thought we could talk about Japan and well, first of all, the obvious question is, have you actually been to Japan?
I have not, but I will go at some point in my life, because it's definitely, I'm not particularly a holiday goer for kind of, I guess, like the normal holiday places. Like I don't have any interest in going to like sunny places or like, kind of like seeing mountains or anything. I'm not really interested in that. Japan is like, because of all the games and the music, that's one place where I would want to go for a holiday, specifically for a holiday. I will do it at some point.
You can go to Tokyo and Akihabara. You don't have to see any nature at all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
There won't be a single tree in sight.
Oh, that's. I do actually quite like kind of the nature side of Japan. That is something I actually am quite interested in. But when it's more so like, I'm not interested in like consumer holidays, if that makes sense.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go on a package holiday and see the sights you're supposed to see.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly what I don't have any interest in.
Exactly.
So I do travel quite a bit, but yeah.
So if you were to come to Japan and hang out in the Akihabara, the Electric City district, what kind of things would you be on the lookout for? Do you think games related or merchandise related or?
I think merchandise would be definitely the big thing, because there's a lot of stuff. Obviously, the UK doesn't get too much kind of merchandise stuff. We get a few things every now and then.
Yeah.
But I would basically go there to buy as much as I can and stuff in my room as much as I can.
What kind of characters are you on the lookout for?
Oh, just anything Nintendo, really.
And
I think probably the more obscure stuff, like I don't know, let's say like a Magic Cooper plush. You're never going to get that in the UK, but you might get it in Japan. So...
What about this guy?
Oh, I know. Oh no, that's 3D World, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, I didn't even know they would make that. That's like the most obscure thing I've ever seen. Wow.
Yeah, they were inside.
Yeah, stuff like that.
They were inside chocolate eggs, actually.
Oh, like Kinder Surprise, or whatever they're called.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, no, I would probably go for... I don't think I would know too much about kind of what I would be looking for until I got there, to be honest. Like, I know there are lots of arcades, and it's quite a vibrant kind of place. But...
Well, you're actually like a fighting game
guy,
right?
Yeah, I would go there as well. Yeah, for that kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. Do you play... I think I've seen a video of you playing maybe Smash Brothers in a tournament. Is that right? Are you in a tournament?
That's the thing. Like I said, I travel quite a lot, and I travel to the tournaments. So I've been to like America and France and somewhere else. I can't remember. Well, Scotland, if that counts as somewhere exotic.
Sure, why not?
So yeah, going to Japan would be a good thing to do, because I could see all kind of the things I want to see, buy all the merchandise, but then I can go to arcades to play, and I think I might have connections in Japan as well for Smash, so, or if not, I might be able to get them quite easily, so I could hang out with those guys there as well.
Yeah, there's some monthly fighting game tournaments or groups that get together. So in terms of arcade games, what kind of arcade games are you a Street Fighter 4 guy or?
I was, but I'm not really. I never used an arcade stick though. That's the problem. I always use an Xbox controller, so I would be awful. I would be awful if I went there.
The D-pad on the 360.
No, I used a control stick. The D-pad was pretty awful. Yeah.
Wow.
So if I went to an arcade, it would probably be for more the kind of classic arcade type games rather than one-on-one kind of fighting games.
Japan is one of the few countries that still has, a thriving arcade scene.
Yeah.
And, with lots of retro games and everything in. So.
Yeah.
You should have fun. So, on the topic of Japan, do you have any favorite Japanese composers?
I do. However, this isn't just relating to game music. This is relating to everything. I am awful with names. I cannot remember names for the life of me. So okay. I know Koji Kondo.
Okay, yes.
And off the top of my head, I honestly.
Okay, how about games?
So bad.
How about games? Maybe we can look for it.
Favorites?
favorite game music, and then we can look for the composer maybe.
See, I quite see. The thing is, I like a lot of the Rare music, and they're all British composers.
Yeah.
But if we're talking Japanese, I'll tell you what. Hold on, I'm just going to bring up a document real quick. One day when I was bored, I made a list of my favorite games, and most of them have like my favorite soundtracks as well. So let me just have a quick look at this.
Grant Kirkhope.
Oh, I tell you what. I'm doing a. Actually, no, I'm not going to say that.
Don't break
Mario...
any NDAs.
Yeah, no. I've got a project that I'm working on that I kind of want to keep on the lowdown for the moment.
That's fine.
I don't know any of like the names of the newer Nintendo people, like outside of Koji Kondo. But like, if like any composers have done stuff for like Super Mario Galaxy or Mario Kart 8, or stuff like that, I like those composers. Whoever composed the soundtrack for F-Zero GX is a master as well, and Paper Mario 2. Outside of those, just the composers for Pokemon, any composer for Nintendo related stuff, to be honest, I'm a fan of. Right. Unfortunately, I don't know their names.
Yeah, it's tricky. Okay, for the composer for F-Zero GX is called Hidenori Shoji and Daiki Kasho.
Okay.
There you go. So I'm sure you'll remember those for the rest of your life.
I will probably forget them by 5 minutes. No, that's great.
That's cool. Yeah. So do you know any Japanese words? What's your favorite Japanese word? Either by sound or meaning or whatever.
I think by default,
yes.
It's probably just Konnichiwa.
Okay.
That's the only one I know. That's the only one I know. I'm not very good with language.
What does that mean?
That's hello, isn't it?
Correct.
Oh god, you almost gave me a mini heart attack. I was like, am I going to embarrass myself this much?
No, don't worry. It's not a Japanese test.
Okay, good.
Do you have any merchandise, kind of cool merchandise in your room that you'd like to show off? I can see some stuff behind you.
Japan related or just in general?
Well, it can be, but just any figures you want to flash at the camera or something. Your favorite figure or toy.
Yeah, when there was a website called was it PlayAsia?
PlayAsia.
I think that's the right one. It shut down, didn't it, or something, because they were selling like PSPs or something, and Sony had them shut down or something.
Oh, that's Lixang you're talking about. That's a long time ago. Lixang. Yeah.
I've got something. I think I've still got the box for it. Hold on a second. This was something. The last thing that it's got a lot of dust on it as well. It's got a lot. It's just like a model of like Mario, but you can kind of take the bits out or whatever. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know how loud this is going to be, or if the battery is going to be dead.
Go ahead.
Hold on. Yeah, there you go. That's all it does. Yeah, no, and they had like a complete series of those, and I wanted to collect them all, but then the website shut down. So
do you have to buy all the parts to have the full Mario soundtrack?
Oh no, they all came in one box. For the whole soundtrack.
So it starts. The first one's did it, and then dun dun.
It's like playing a real instrument. No, I think actually they had like other stuff like Zelda and Pokemon as well. But of course, I never got around to those.
That actually looks quite similar to this, actually. That Mario that you showed me looked like that.
Oh, they might well be.
This was on top of the same. This was on top of a coffee can.
Oh, really?
And you opened it, and then little Mario was inside.
Brilliant. It might have been the same creator. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, I don't know how far the camera can pick up all that stuff behind me, but I've got kind of like my plushes up there. I've collected over the years. A lot of that actually, quite a few of those are from my childhood. Actually,
maybe what we could do is you could maybe take a photo, and then I'll impose that at this point.
Because there's a Snorlax right at the front there, which I've had since I was a little kid, and that's probably my favourite one there.
Cool.
I've got And quite a few of the Pokemon ones there are old as well. Yeah.
Can you do a Snorlax impression?
No.
Excellent.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, no, hold on a sec. If you want to see my Snorlax impression, I'll film me while I'm sleeping. How about that?
Yeah, it's alright. I'm good.
Good. Okay, that would be weird.
Okay, so I think it's time to wrap up this episode.
Okay.
So yeah, how would people contact you if they wanted to have a track made? If they wanted to request something, or how would they get hold of it?
Well, I always, like I say, I always read the YouTube comments, so that's one way. Though YouTube seems to have this weird thing where when you're looking at your notifications, it doesn't show you the whole comment. So the important bit might be at the end that I never see.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I've got an email. Do you want me to say on here, or would you link it in the description?
I would.
Or...
Well, if you don't mind, if you want to.
It was just
Twitter or something.
Yeah, actually, why don't you just do that? Twitter, at Bulbamike, Bulbamike. That's probably the kind of place I'm most on in terms of social media. I do have a Facebook as well, facebook.com/Mr. Bulbamike, I think. I've been on there for a while.
No one uses Facebook.
No one uses Facebook.
Only your annoying aunties who play Farmville.
Yes, basically, yes. And then... Yeah, email, and then, I've got a Twitch account as well, if anyone watches that, twitch.tv/Bulbamike. I stream sometimes. What kind of thing? Mm-hmm. I normally just stream, like, Super Smash Brothers, really. That's about it. I might stream other Wii U games, but that's basically it. You can catch me anywhere those places. That's where I am mainly.
Fantastic. So, is there anything exciting lined up for the future? What is your ultimate fantasy? No, that sounds wrong. What is your ultimate goal?
That's the fire song, isn't it?
I'm not saying this year, but 5-10 years down the line, what would you love to be doing? Or
well, at the time of recording this, I am around 48,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Wow.
So we will be 50,000 at some point this year, and it's gone up exponentially every year I've been doing it. So. It's unlikely, but 100,000 by the end of the year would be very nice, I would hope. I'm going to carry on doing kind of the 8-bit and the retro stuff. That's going to be a continuous thing. But like I alluded to earlier, I've got a project I'm working on, which will be a video series on my channel, featuring kind of well-known YouTubers about video games and music. So... Hopefully, I'm just waiting on people to kind of finish their bits at the moment, but hopefully they'll be kickstarted this year and continue on.
On Kickstarter, or is that a verb?
Oh no, sorry, just as in like the project will kickstart this year. It will it will be uploaded. That's a very difficult word to use now with Kickstarter around, isn't it?
Kickstarter.com / No, not that.
No. Yeah, so that's about it really. I'll just be carrying on with that stuff. Hopefully at some point
you can just retire on YouTube money and quit your job.
Yeah, that to be honest, that is kind of like I joined my normal job relatively recently, but it's definitely not what I want to be doing. YouTube and music is definitely what I want to be doing. So at some point in the future, if through either kind of advert revenue or Patreon or freelance work, I ever get to a point where I can make a living off it, that is the ideal goal. That is the ideal goal, yeah.
Well, I wish you all luck for that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you definitely deserve it. I think you're probably one of the most talented of the chiptuners out there, and I definitely appreciate all the effort you put into your videos and everything. It's cool. And everyone should subscribe. I've probably laid some of your music in this video, so
yeah, you can by all means.
Yeah.
I was going to say, no, you can't. no, of course you can. No,
actually, yeah, this is a rare opportunity where I can actually ask you face to face. May I use some of your music for this video?
You can use anything you want.
Thank you
Absolutely.
very much. I will add you in the description.
Yeah, there are a few songs I've done that have been copyright claimed by Nintendo or other third parties. So I will let you know those.
Because it's too near to the original, or?
Yes. They think they are the original song.
Okay.
So that is a problem, which I do have a list of songs that I want to do that I can't do because of copyright. One of which was actually Splatoon, which hasn't been copyright claimed, which I was very surprised about. So like I say, the more I kind of get from ad revenue and Patreon, the more I'm going to take risks on music that has been copyright claimed, just in case my remix does get claimed.
Right.
Because I had like a string of 3 or 4 videos that got claimed, all of them, and I thought it's not worth it. So it's a shame because they're all like the popular songs, but that's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's the end of this episode, and thanks, Mike, for joining me. It's been fantastic talking to you, and
thank you very much.
Yeah. Until next time.